Look around you. The earth is trembling, the skies are shifting. Humanity is restless. Something deep within us is stirring. And it's not just fear, it's the sense that time is running out. We are not here by chance. We are here at a turning point. Can you feel it? Can you hear the call of the Almighty? Because God is speaking, not with whispers, but with signs that shake the very soul. The earth is groaning, not in silence, not in secret, but in open, visible cries that can be seen in every corner of our planet. Look around. Floods are sweeping through cities that were once dry and safe. Storms are intensifying, not just in strength, but in their unpredictability. Earthquakes strike without warning. Wildfires rage uncontrollably, and temperatures rise to levels we never imagined. These are not just weather events. These are not just shifts in climate. These are signals. Divine messages from creation itself, trying to get our attention. The very ground we walk on, the skies we look up to, the oceans we swim in, they're all speaking. And the message is simple, something is deeply out of balance. You don't need to be a scientist or a prophet to feel it. You feel it when you step outside and notice how the seasons seem off. In this late hour, you feel it when you read the news and wonder why disasters are happening more frequently. You feel it when you hear birds flying in strange patterns, or crops failing in places that once flourished. And you especially feel it when you see how all this is affecting daily life. Our food prices go up, our travel gets disrupted. Our homes are threatened by rising tides or shaking earth. This isn't just a national issue. It's a personal one. Every household is touched by this imbalance. Every life is, in some way, affected by the groaning of the earth. But let's go even deeper. Why is this happening? Why is creation crying out? This late hour, it's because humanity has forgotten the balance we were entrusted with. We were never meant to dominate the earth without regard. We were called to live in harmony with it. But somewhere along the way, we became obsessed with control, with consumption, with convenience. We chopped down forests not to survive, but to profit. We polluted waters not of need, but out of neglect. We replaced thankfulness with entitlement and reverence with arrogance. And so, in this late hour, the earth responds not with punishment, but with pain. It reflects back what we've poured into it. Our inner disorder is echoed in the world around us. Take a moment and reflect on your own daily life. When you wake up to the sound of rain, does it comfort you? Or do you now check to see if it's another flood warning? When you feel the sun on your skin, do you enjoy its warmth? Or worry about heat stroke and power shortages? When you hear of another forest fire or see pictures of displaced families, do you scroll past? Or do you feel that tug deep inside, the one that says, "This isn't how things were meant to be"? Even animals are behaving strangely. Birds migrating off-season, whales washing up on beaches, insects showing up in regions they were never meant to inhabit. Nature is confused because it's reacting to the confusion of man. But this isn't just about the environment. This is about the spiritual condition of humanity, because when we disconnect from God, we disconnect from everything that God designed to work in balance, including the earth. And yet, in the middle of all this groaning, there is hope. Because the groaning is not just pain, it's a cry for change. It's a reminder that time is moving, that choices have consequences, and that God's voice can still be heard if we are willing to listen. When the ground shakes, it shakes our comfort, but it also shakes us awake. When the skies thunder, it may rattle our homes, but it also rattles our hearts. Think about this: if you saw your house cracking, your roof leaking, your walls trembling, you wouldn't ignore it. You would act. You would fix what's broken. You would seek shelter. You would pay attention. In the same way, God is showing us that the house we live in, this world, is reaching its breaking point. And it's not to scare us. It's to wake us up. It's to call us back to Him. It's to show us that without divine guidance, All our progress is just speed toward destruction. Now more than ever, we need to live with awareness. We need to stop treating the signs around us as coincidences and start recognizing them as divine warnings. Not because God is angry, but because God loves us enough to warn us. Just like a loving parent raises their voice when their child runs toward danger. In this late hour, the earth is raising its voice because the Creator is trying to protect us from what we can't yet see. What happens when the compass breaks? When right no longer feels right, and wrong no longer stings the conscience? When truth becomes a matter of opinion, and virtue is exchanged for popularity, we are living in a time where moral clarity has become fog. Once, society honored values like honesty, humility, loyalty, and compassion. These weren't religious labels. They were simply the foundation of strong families, healthy communities, and peaceful nations. But now, those same values are being labeled as outdated, judgmental, or even oppressive. The moral compass that once pointed us toward goodness has been twisted, and the results are everywhere. Just take a walk down a busy street, scroll through social media, or sit quietly in a public space and observe. You'll notice something striking. People are disconnected from each other, from purpose, and from themselves. Lying has become a skill rather than a shame. Betrayal is excused if it serves personal gain. Kindness is viewed as weakness. And when someone dares to stand for truth, they are mocked, silenced, or accused of intolerance. This is more than cultural decline. It is spiritual erosion. Look at the entertainment we consume. Songs that once sang of love and hope now glorify lust and revenge. Shows that once uplifted family now thrive on scandal, mockery, and moral Children are growing up in a world where they are told that there is no such thing as right or wrong. Just your truth and my truth. But truth doesn't bend to comfort. Truth stands even when the crowd turns away. And when we abandon the truth, we lose direction. That is exactly what is happening. And it's not just out there in the world. It's happening in our homes, our schools, and our relationships. Parents are afraid to discipline because society tells them boundaries are harmful. Teachers are forced to remain silent when their hearts know what's best. Even friendships today are often built on convenience, not commitment. The loyalty that once formed deep bonds is being replaced by temporary pleasure and shallow attention. But the soul knows. Deep down, every person feels that something has shifted, something precious has been lost. Let's look at daily life for a moment. Have you noticed how many people struggle with anxiety, not because of physical danger, but because of moral confusion? People don't know what to believe anymore. A young man is told to chase success at any cost, even if it means stepping on others. A young woman is told her worth is in her appearance, not her spirit. Children are told to question everything except the very systems that are causing them harm. And in all of this noise, the inner voice, the voice of God that gently whispers, "Do what is right," is being drowned out. But the effects of this collapse of morality are not just emotional. They are deeply practical. When morality fades, families fall apart. When morality fades, trust between people breaks down. Businesses collapse under corruption. Leaders lead for power, not service. And nations lose their unity. Look at the rise in violence. Look at how we celebrate fame over character. Look at how quickly people cancel each other instead of forgiving. This is not progress. It is a warning sign. Yet even in the middle of this moral chaos, there is a chance to wake up. Sometimes when everything around you is crumbling, that's when you begin to rebuild on something solid. And morality is that solid ground. Not man-made rules, but divine principles. Timeless truths placed in every human heart by the one who created us. Truth doesn't change just because society does. Goodness doesn't fade because it's unpopular. Right and wrong are not based on feeling. They are based on the design of life itself. You can see the difference in real life. The man who builds his life on lies may rise fast, but he falls harder. The woman who sacrifices her values for approval may gain followers, but lose her peace. But the person who walks in truth, who holds on to moral clarity even when it's hard, experiences a different kind of strength. Quiet, steady, and unshakable. That's the kind of life that we need more of today. That's the kind of life that God honors. We live in a time of incredible advancement. Technology has transformed our world in ways our ancestors could never imagine. With a single tap, we can speak to someone on the other side of the globe. With just a few words, artificial intelligence can write a poem, compose music, or even predict our needs before we ask. Cars are driving themselves, machines are replacing workers, and the internet has made the world feel smaller, faster, and more connected than ever before. But with all this advancement, one critical question remains: has our wisdom kept up with our speed? There is no doubt that technology is a powerful tool, but when tools fall into unwise hands, they can become dangerous weapons. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We've built systems that can think, but not feel. We've created algorithms that can decide, but not discern. We are raising a generation that knows how to swipe, scroll, and search, but not how to reflect, question, or judge what's true. The world is racing forward, but our spiritual understanding is lagging behind. Take the example of social media. What began as a way to connect has now become a mirror of comparison, a breeding ground for anxiety, and often a battlefield of hate. People are more concerned with likes than with love, more focused on followers than on faithfulness. We're constantly uploading images, videos, and opinions, but are we pausing to ask ourselves why? What are we trying to prove? What are we trying to fill? We have access to endless information, but we are starving for wisdom. We can read about anything, watch anything, buy anything, but still feel empty inside. Think about the average day. A person wakes up, reaches for their phone before they even thank God for a new day. They scroll through messages, news, and updates before they've even had a moment of stillness. They're in this late hour, their thoughts are filled with the noise of the world before they've made room for the whisper of God. In this late hour, we've become so dependent on machines to guide our decisions that we've forgotten how to seek divine direction. We ask Google before we ask God. We check our calendar before we check our conscience. The issue isn't that technology is evil. It's that we've elevated it above the wisdom that comes from a higher source. In this late hour, we've allowed convenience to replace conviction. We've become so enamored with what's new that we've ignored what's true. The speed of life has increased, but the depth of life has decreased. We move quickly, but we don't move meaningfully. And in this whirlwind of progress, the soul quietly suffers. Look at the families around us. Everyone's at the dinner table, but their eyes are glued to screens. Conversations are replaced by notifications. Children learn more from videos than from their parents. Relationships are shallow because attention is divided. We know how to edit photos, but not how to express emotions. We know how to build brands, but not how to build trust. And when conflict arises, we don't talk. We block. We don't late hour. We distract. The result? A generation that's connected online but disconnected within. Even our approach to knowledge has changed. We treat information as truth, but they are not the same. Just because something is available doesn't mean it is beneficial. Just because we can access it doesn't mean we should absorb it. Wisdom isn't about how much you know. It's about what you do with what you know. And that kind of wisdom doesn't come from the internet, it comes from God. But here's the good news, it's not too late. The soul doesn't need a software update, it needs a spiritual awakening. You don't have to reject technology, you just have to realign it with purpose. Use the tools, but don't let them use you. Speak to people face to face. Look into someone's eyes, not just into your screen. Start your day with silence, not scrolling. Seek truth, not just trends. And most of all, anchor your mind in the wisdom of the one who created it. You were not designed to run on speed alone. You were created to walk in purpose, to think deeply, to love authentically, and to live wisely. That kind of life can't be downloaded. It must be developed with intention, reflection, and faith. The world may be getting faster, but your soul doesn't have to race. You can slow down. You can listen. You can return to what matters. Imagine a world where technology is guided by humility, where innovation is used to uplift, not exploit, where progress is measured not by profit, but by peace. That world begins not in machines, but in hearts that seek wisdom, in minds that pause to reflect, in lives that choose to follow the voice of God, even when the world is shouting something different. In today's world, truth is no longer celebrated. It's under attack. The voice late hour, the voices that once guided us with clarity and conviction are now being drowned out by a wave of noise, doubt, and distortion. People who stand up for what is right are mocked. Those who speak with moral courage are silenced. And those who carry messages that challenge the world's agenda are often labeled rejected or pushed aside. But this isn't just a societal trend. It's a sign, a spiritual sign. Because when truth is under fire, it means darkness is afraid. And when the voice of truth is being silenced, it means that voice has power. Look around at our media, our education systems, even everyday conversations. Opinions are celebrated, but absolute truth is attacked. Feelings are protected, but facts are questioned. We live in a time where saying what is popular is easy, but saying what is right takes incredible courage. There's a growing pressure to stay silent, to blend in, to not make waves, to smile, nod, and agree, even when your soul screams, no. But the question is, will you stay silent or will you speak? In your daily life, you've seen this play out. Maybe you were in a conversation at work, and someone made a comment you knew was wrong. Yet you hesitated to speak up because you didn't want to be labeled. Maybe you watched someone being treated unfairly, but remained quiet because you feared backlash. In this late hour, maybe you felt something in your spirit that told you, this isn't right, but you didn't know how to put it into words. That inner conflict, that moment of silence when truth should have been spoken, is something so many people live with today. Even in our families, speaking truth has become risky. A parent guiding their child with moral boundaries is often accused of being controlling. A spouse who defends their beliefs is seen as difficult. Friends fall apart over values. Conversations are avoided because truth has become uncomfortable. But truth was never meant to make us comfortable. It was meant to make us free. When truth disappears, everything else begins to collapse. Respect, trust, love, and even hope. Social media has intensified this war against truth. You can post a lie and it will spread like wildfire. But post a word of wisdom and it gets buried. The loudest voices get the platform, not the most honest ones. People are more interested in being heard than being right. In this late hour, and the ones who carry real truth, the kind that convicts, uplifts, and heals, are often seen as threats. The result? A generation confused, uncertain, and lost in a sea of deception. But this is not new. Throughout history, every time the world tried to shut down truth, truth found a way to rise. Truth doesn't disappear when it's silenced. It grows stronger in the hearts of those who dare to carry it. It burns quietly in the soul. It shakes the comfortable and comforts the broken. You can't bury truth. You can only delay it. And eventually, it will speak louder than ever before. In your own life, think about the moments where truth transformed you. Maybe it was a hard conversation that opened your eyes. Maybe it was a simple sentence that stayed in your heart for years. Maybe it was a moment of stillness where you heard something deep within say, "You were made for more." That's the power of truth. It doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be heard. But hearing it is not enough. We are called to carry it, to speak it, to live it. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Because when you speak truth in a world that fears it, you become a light in darkness. You become a mirror to people who have forgotten who they are. You remind them that integrity is not dead, that courage is still possible, that God is not silent. The enemy of truth is not just lies, it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of standing alone. But the truth is, you are never alone when you stand with what is right. Even if the whole world turns its back on you, the one who made you will not. He is with those who carry his voice. He strengthens those who defend what's sacred, and he honors those who choose conviction over comfort. So how do you live this out? You speak the truth with love, not arrogance. You hold your values with humility, not pride. You stay rooted in what you know is right, even when everything around you feels wrong. You be the quiet voice of reason in a loud world of noise. You be the steady presence of peace in a culture of chaos. You don't have to argue. You don't have to shout. You just have to be unshakable. Because when people see someone who cannot be moved by opinion, who cannot be bought by applause, who cannot be silenced by fear, that is when they start to wonder, what gives them that strength? And in that moment, your life becomes a message louder than any speeching that truth still matters, that it still has power. In this late hour, that no matter how dark the world becomes, the light of truth will never be extinguished. There's a quiet H in the hearts of millions today, an HE that doesn't show up on medical scans or social media timelines. It's not caused by illness, poverty, or loneliness in the traditional sense. It's deeper. It's spiritual. It's the H of an empty soul, a hunger that nothing in this world seems to satisfy. You can have a full bank account and still feel bankrupt inside. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. You can have every material blessing and yet wake up every morning with a question echoing in your spirit: why do I still feel empty? We are living in a world where external success is mistaken for internal fulfillment. People are constantly chasing the next thing: a new car, a bigger house, a better job, more followers, more attention, more applause. And for a brief moment, it feels good. You post the picture, you get the likes, you celebrate the promotion, you buy the new gadget. But that moment fades, the applause dies down, the novelty wears off, and once again you're left with yourself, left with your soul. And the hunger begins again. Everywhere you look, people are searching. They're not always saying it out loud, but you can see it in their actions. You see it in the long hours at work, not just to earn, but to feel valuable. You see it in the way people chase relationships, not out of love, but out of the fear of being alone. You see it in addiction, in distraction, in endless scrolling, binge watching, drinking, partying, not because these things satisfy, but because they temporarily silence the emptiness inside. It's not that people are lazy or evil, it's that they're lost. This late hour, lost in a world that offers 1,000 distractions but no direction. Lost in a culture that tells them to follow their heart, but never teaches them how to listen to their soul. Lost in a life that moves fast, but never stops to ask what really matters. The truth is, people are spiritually starving and most don't even know it. They think they need more success, more status, more stuff. But what they really need is more stillness, more truth, more of God. You see it in families. Parents are working harder than ever, trying to give their children everything they never had, except for the one thing children need most: presence, connection, a sense of spiritual grounding. We've traded dinner table conversations for tablets, bedtime prayers for bedtime shows, discipline for distraction. And then we wonder why our children feel restless, angry, anxious, disconnected. They're not just missing structure, they're missing soul. They're growing up in homes full of technology but empty of spiritual warmth. You see it in relationships too. Couples who start strong but grow distant. Friends who once shared everything, now reduced to emojis and occasional texts. People know how to communicate, but they don't know how to connect. They share selfies but not struggles. They celebrate together but don't pray together. The bond becomes hollow because it's built on surface-level satisfaction, not spiritual depth. Even in your personal life, you may have experienced this. Those quiet moments at night when everything seems fine on the outside, but you feel something is missing. When the laughter fades and the crowd goes home, you're left with a whisper in your soul asking, "Is this all there is?" That whisper isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's your soul reminding you that no amount of success, popularity, or comfort can ever replace the presence of God in your life. The emptiness you feel is not a flaw. It's a signal. A divine reminder that you were never meant to live on bread alone, on likes, on applause, on achievements. You were created for something more, something deeper. And the sooner we stop trying to fill our souls with temporary things in this late hour, the sooner we'll begin to experience peace that doesn't fade when the party ends, joy that isn't shaken by bad news, and love that isn't dependent on who stays or who leaves. This kind of fulfillment can't be bought. It can't be faked. It can't be achieved through hustle or performance. It's found in the quiet moments, in the humble prayers, in the deep surrender of a heart that says, "God, I've tried everything else, and still I feel empty. Fill me with you." That's where it begins, in the returning, in the remembering, in the rebuilding of a relationship with the one who created your soul and knows exactly what it needs. So if you're tired of pretending, if you're done chasing things that leave you feeling more hollow than whole, take a step back, reflect, get quiet, start asking the real questions again. Not, what can I do to be more successful? But what am I doing to be more spiritually whole? Not, how can I impress others? But, how can I align my life with God's truth?